By the way, happy holidays, everyone. These days, you don't need an excuse to have a little get-together at your place. You want to watch the big game or a New Year's party? Whatever. Stock your party with drinks from Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. You can schedule drinks to be delivered up to 2 weeks in advance or in as little as 60 minutes. Plus, Drizzly helps you save dough by comparing prices on a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits from local stores. So grab that to-do list of yours and cross out, go to the liquor store. Download the Drizzly app today or go to drizzly.com. Again, DRIZLY.com. No more going on beer runs or stressing out about finding a particular bottle of wine. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com, the go-to app for alcohol delivery. Must be 21, not available in all locations.
The Podcast Playground. Hooray!
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
You know, I love the show. Everybody Loves Raymond. I watched every season, and I will say I'm a little curious to see if Patricia Heaton is anything like her character, Deborah Barone. A little bit of a nag, if you're asking me. We'll see if art imitates life. Actress Patricia Heaton, our guest this week on Celebrity Jobber. Hi, Patricia.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Oh, boy, this is going to be tough. You know, it was Lorraine Bracco I talked to a few weeks ago, and I said, you know what? As soon as she said hello to me, I said, I'm thinking it's Karen Hill. I'm going to call you Karen once. And now it's Deborah. It does that. I mean, first of all, such a big fan of Everybody Loves Raymond. Such a great show. And hearing your voice, though, that's it stimulates Deborah. You know, that's what I want to say.
Yes. Although it's funny, when I watch episodes now, my voice is much higher.
Really?
In the show. Like it's really weird. Like when we finish our interview, like listen to me now and then just put out an episode and listen to my voice. It's crazy how much deeper my voice.
You haven't taken on smoking in the past 10 years, have you?
No.
Okay, good.
No, not at all.
I'm just worried about you.
Thank you.
So tell me, first of all, I wanted to talk about you have a new movie coming out on Friday, which sounds really cool because it's about vets and coping, and it sounds like a really, really cool movie. It's called Mending the Line, and it comes out everywhere this Friday. I wanted to dig in a little deep and ask a few questions about growing up. I know you're from Ohio, and I know that you grew up in Cleveland. Did you grow up with mom and dad in the same house?
Yes, but my mom passed away suddenly when I was 12.
Oh, Jesus.
And yeah, so there were 5 kids.
Oh, boy.
Pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
And, what I find interesting about this movie, Mending the Line, it is about trauma. It is about healing. And I think it's an important topic to talk about, especially as the subject of mental health has come to the forefront in our country, long overdue, particularly beginning with the pandemic.
Right.
It brought it to people's minds. And this movie is about a veteran from Afghanistan, played by Cynthia Walls, and one from Vietnam, played by Brian Cox, and how they help each other with each other's trauma through their relationship, but also through fly fishing.
Yeah, have you ever tried that?
Bozeman, Montana, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Have you ever tried?
Great story.
Have you ever tried to fly fish before, Patricia?
Yes, our family spent many years on our holidays in Montana.
I mean,
we did a lot of fly fishing, and it's incredible.
It's not easy. It's very frustrating. Although my father taught me how to fly fish, and I don't know if he's the best fly fishing teacher.
Yeah, maybe that was about that. Well, it's just one of those things where it requires patience and a certain amount of humility, and but you're in the water, you're surrounded by nature.
Yes.
Quiet.
Correct.
You have to be quiet. And so it's a very meditative activity.
So can you tell me, did this movie in any way, I mean, and you know, it was a while ago since you had that tragic experience with your mother passing away, but did this movie actually kind of help you maybe connect the dots and cope a little bit yourself in real life?
Well, I think, for many years, I worked on it myself because at the time my mother passed, which was in the early 70s, there in Cleveland, it didn't occur to anybody that the kids might need some grief counseling.
Right.
None was had at that time. And it impacted me negatively for many years. And when I became a mom, I decided one of the things I wanted to teach my boys was that going to a therapist is the same as going to a dentist, going to a pediatrician, going to a physical therapist. It's about taking care of your health, and that includes your mental health. And you want to go to professionals who are trained to help you. And so I was so happy to do this movie because I think, especially amongst the military, there's a bit of a stigma that if you go for mental health help, that it would negatively impact your career.
Right.
And so I think, and the military played a part in that. And so I think they're reversing that now. I work a lot with the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Oh, cool.
And they do a lot of work along with building houses for wounded vets. They focus on the mental health of veterans and in making that available and taking the stigma away. And so Mending the Line is a beautiful movie that deals with that topic in this really wonderful way. It's just a great story in and of itself. Plus, it deals with this important topic.
Patricia, can you say at a young age growing up in Ohio that you knew you wanted to be an actress, even, like at that young age, or what were you thinking about at that time as a career?
From day one.
Really?
Day one, I've been an extrovert. It was funny because I was, speaking of Brian Cox, who's in Mending the Line, we just watched an interview with him, and he talked about as a little kid how he was always performing. And it was the same with me. Now, to decide to pursue it as a career took until the middle of my junior year at the Ohio State University.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
I got a wife who's a Wolverine. I'm going to have to find a way to hide this part of the interview. Jesus.
But it took a while to actually believe that maybe I could take a stab at this as a career. Because there was nobody else in my family who was in the industry. So I didn't have any mentor or model to guide me. So it took quite a while for me to get to where I was working as an actor for a living. It was a good, 15 years or so. So it took a while, but it had always been in my nature for sure.
And I know that you've done a lot of off-Broadway stuff and a lot of, stage performing, but what about your very first job? Do you remember what your very first paying job, whether it was being an actor or whether it was, working at a restaurant? What was your very first job?
My very first paying job was in a department store in Cleveland.
And what kind of department store?
It was called Hallie's.
Okay.
It was in the mall. And I, roamed from department to department, did like a lot of accessories and women's clothing. And it was perfect because I got 10% off on the clothes, on anything I bought at the department store. So I could outfit myself, for school. So that was really helpful.
And how old were you?
I guess 16. As soon as I could legally work, I got a job because my dad was sports writer for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and
Really?
at that time didn't make much money. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's actually in the Football Hall of Fame in Akron, Canton.
I just
Football Hall
find
of Fame. It's a
how
sports writer.
crazy is that, though, Patricia? I mean, you play a character, Deborah Barone, who is married to a sports writer. Would you consider Everybody Loves Raymond? Would you consider that your big break, or was it not?
Oh, yes, that was definitely the big break. I mean, but that was my fourth sitcom.
Really?
People don't realize that I had 3 failed sitcoms.
They're
prior to
tough.
that.
Yeah, the sitcoms are tough.
Man, yeah, you got to really. It has to be in your bones to want to be an actor or a writer or a director, because it's a very tough business.
Wow, I just think it's incredible. Like, what a crazy coincidence. When you read the script for Everybody Loves Raymond and you knew that you were going to be married to a sports writer, were you just like, oh my God, this is so perfect for me?
Yeah. Yes, and also they mentioned my dad's name in an episode where Ray is up for a sports writers award.
Yeah.
And they say something like, who else is up for the award? And Ray says, there's this guy, Chuck Heaton.
Yes. That's cool.
That's the homage to my dad.
That is very, very cool. I got to tell you, that's a great story right there. Because what it is, and I got to tell you, I know that you are not like Deborah, because I always think she was a little bit of a nag, and I could tell you're not like that. You're very lovely. You're not like her.
I don't know. Talk to my husband. He might have a different opinion.
The movie is called Mending the Line, and Patricia Heaton, star of the movie, and our guest here on Celebrity Jobber. Great talking to you. Thanks so much. And
thanks for having me.
Good luck on the film and everything else.
All right. Thanks, Zito.
Her first job in a department store, I would imagine something maybe a lot of girls would do in their high school years, working in a department store to get that discount on clothes and shopping. So that was her first job, even though it didn't seem like that was a career that she wanted to pursue. It seemed pretty logical. High school girl working at the mall. So really important here. Patricia lost her mother when she was 12 years old. It was sudden, and that must have been a very, very difficult thing for a girl. Not only a girl, I mean, any kid losing a parent at that age is difficult. I would imagine a girl at 12 years old losing her mother, extremely, extremely difficult. So she had that going on growing up. Her father, one of the most interesting parts of the interview to me, her father, a very successful sports writer in Cleveland. And if you know anything about the show, Everybody Loves Raymond, Deborah, which is Patricia's character, married to Ray Romano in the show, was a sports writer. And I couldn't get past that coincidence. I thought that was just incredible. I wish I had more time to talk to her about that. And she mentioned in an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, when he was getting that award, they mentioned her father's name as one of the recipients, Chuck Heaton. Oh, man, I just thought that was so cool. I wish I had more time to speak with her on that and that particular coincidence. And of course, Everybody Loves Raymond was Patricia's big break. I mean, it was a big show. It was on for a lot of years. And but she was in the game. She was, a stage actress. She did a lot of plays and stuff like that when she was younger. But she was on 4 sitcoms prior to Everybody Loves Raymond. And, unfortunately, those sitcoms were not successful. So she does consider Ray her big break, as, I would probably have guessed before even speaking with her. If you just break it down for a minute, you think about all the celebrities out there, and at least the ones that we've talked to here on this podcast, a large percentage of them knew exactly what they wanted to do at a young age. And then they just kind of like willed that to happen. You know what I mean? Like, think about an athlete like that might not be the most gifted in size and athletic ability, but they kind of always find a way to win. I kind of see that parallel, if you will, with some successful celebrities. They just kind of willed that to happen. I don't know, an example of that really sticks out was the very first episode of Celebrity Jobber. Rich Fields, who was the announcer for The Price is Right. He said he wanted to be the announcer of The Price is Right when he was a little kid, and he was, mimicking the Bob Barker microphone using a hairbrush, and his mother was recording him, and he tried to follow other game show hosts' path. Like being a weatherman was something that Pat Sajak did, and all these other game show hosts. So he kind of like emulated their career path, and he wanted to be the announcer of The Price is Right, and I think he willed it to happen. That's pretty interesting. It's the very first episode of Celebrity Jobber, and if you go to celebrityjobber.com, you can check out all of our episodes. And if you like this podcast, we would appreciate a 5-star rating. And of course, leave a review. Let us know what you like about the show. And maybe you've got a suggestion. Maybe there's a celebrity out there that you kind of want to find out more about. What was their first job? Maybe they had a career before they got famous. Kind of like Todd La Torre, the lead singer of Queensryche. He sold disaster insurance and also had a pretty successful upholstery business before he became the lead singer of the band Queensryche. So your suggestions are also welcomed. And a special thanks to all 12,000 of you who have already subscribed. I encourage you to do so if you like this podcast. And just last month, 1.4 million downloads. Thank you guys so much. Well, that'll do it for another episode of Celebrity Jobber. I thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. I'm Jeff Zito.
The Podcast Playground. Hooray!